Oh, I think we might have lost. Let's see, maybe he's calling back here on line 2. Is this Senator Griffo?
Hey, David, how are you?
Hey, good. We lost you there on line 1. Sorry about that, but thanks for calling right back.
No problem. No problem. We're on the throughway, so hopefully we can still. We heard you for a good distance. I'll tell you, you got good coverage.
Very good. We like to hear that. We were talking with Bob Horowitz about Super Bowl ads, and I know you're a big football fan. First of all, will you root for the Broncos or the Panthers this weekend, or do you not care?
I'm rooting for the Panthers. I'm a Raiders fan, as you know, and Denver and Kansas City are not my favorite teams.
That's true. I hadn't thought about it from that aspect, but you're right.
Senator, do you have a favorite commercial that you can think of from the Super Bowl, or do you pay attention to them?
I look at them. I watch them. They're great. I think the ones I used to like in the old days were the Bud Light Bowls. Remember the Bud Light Bowl?
Yes.
It was always pretty cool because you could always kind of wager on who was going to win, Bud or Bud Light.
And it would go throughout the whole game, so it wasn't just one spot and over. You had to wait till the end of the game to see who was going to win.
Yeah, I thought they were awesome, but a lot of great commercials. Obviously, they spent a lot of money, and then the ones that tug at the heartstring. I remember that youngster that was out there trying to be like Darth Vader or something.
Yeah.
Star Wars commercial. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's my favorite one, I think, of all time, Joe. I love that one, too. And your own political campaigns have been something we've followed here on the Talk of the Town, and there's an announcement you have going on here. Is that right?
Yeah, Dave, we've reached a decision here. I had a lot of soul-searching. It was a difficult decision on the race for the 22nd. While I believe I have the ability and the energy to wage an aggressive campaign and serve the community, the allure to serve at the federal level was very enticing. We got a lot of encouragement, support, and that was all flattering. I looked at this personally, professionally, and politically, and I've decided not to enter the race for the 22nd. There are a lot of factors from the professional spot, looking at where we are and what we are accomplishing as a team for this region. That's important to me, and I think I'm in a position to continue to do good things and to ensure that our area, the momentum we will have and continue to harness is important. Politically, while we saw a path, the money chase is very difficult. To think that we're all consumed with raising money these days, a $2 million race, that's an unfortunate circumstance, in my opinion, along with perpetual campaigning. But I do believe we could have done that and done it well if I chose to do that. But ultimately, personally, too, it comes down to my family obligations. I'm blessed to have my parents still with us. This will be their 70th year of marriage.
Wow.
My wife, Lorraine, who I love dearly, she does a lot and with me. So it's a difficult balance, just like it is for all of you. You all work hard. People think it's so glamorous, but when you really look at what you all have to do and what we do on a regular basis, we do it because we love it and we care about our community. But it was tough. It was tough putting together and analyzing this basically internally from professionally, politically, and personally.
Talking to Senator Joe Griffo on the Talk of the Town at 100.7 FM WUTQ.
Well, Joe, we congratulate you in your efforts moving forward. You've done a fine job for us representing the area. And as you mentioned, right now, heading to Albany, and there's going to be a vote today as you continue with the MMA bill, correct?
Absolutely. And you know, we talked about this last week, and we had Chris Weidman here, who was a former champ. And today we will have the bill on the floor of the Senate, and we will be voting on it. I anticipate that we will gain additional support this year. It continues to grow in support in the Senate. It will be our 7th time that we pass it, and then we'll be on parallel paths. There's a budget process now where it's been put in the executive budget. The Senate's always put it in its version of the budget. So we can look at it from a budget perspective, but also independently, legislatively, and I'll work with Assembly Leader Morelli, and hopefully we can get the Assembly to agree to just bring it up for a vote, knowing now that the governor is willing to sign it, would enhance the economic activity of many communities as well as the state, and also allow for athletes in New York to participate in their home state, which they can do in any other sport but this.
Yeah, we were talking with Duff Holmes last week about this, and he is, has trained Matt Hamill and other fighters, and he's very optimistic that he feels like you're finally on the verge of getting it done.
Yeah, I think we've gained support, and I think the Assembly leader has been very energetic. In the past, their sponsor did not have the real passion for this that Joe Morelli has. and I'm hopeful that he did what he was asked to do to gain the support necessary. I'm just hopeful they will allow it to come up for a vote. We're putting it on today, so it's early. There's plenty of time over the next 6 weeks during the budget process to vote on it independently, as well as to negotiate on the MMA in the budget itself, as the governor has proposed.
Yeah, it's interesting because we had that discussion with Duff Holmes, and we were talking about the safety of boxing versus MMA. And he was saying, interestingly, one of the reasons why MMA fighting is safer is because there are more knockouts, which I thought was interesting. He said in boxing, because of the softer gloves, there are repetitive blows to the head where boxers aren't knocked out, and that can sometimes be more dangerous to their health than a knockout can.
Well, there are a number of clinical studies that are being undertaken, and John Hopkins did a study that we use. Some of those on the other side of the issue use other studies. I understand the Cleveland Clinic has been commissioned, and they are doing an extensive study, which will be helpful. But the law that we are proposing today will provide a lot of safeguards for the fighters, as well as the safety of those who are spectating that come to these fights. And I think that what we're doing ultimately is giving to the New York State Athletic Commission the ability to regulate this, and that will ensure that everything is being done properly, working with the professional sports organizations. You see that in boxing right now, and you'll see this with MMA. So the essence of this bill is really to give to the New York Athletic Authority the ability to regulate the mixed martial arts. And I'm hopeful that we'll see the Assembly pass this, and I know that I've heard from the UFC that they definitely are looking at Utica to come and to put fights on in our community, as well as across upstate New York. And I think the first big fight, because you're not going to be able to see this until probably the fall, if all goes well with the voting, you probably will see maybe a rematch with Holly Holmes and Ronda Rousey in Madison Square Garden. That's what I would anticipate.
Wow, great.
And Joe, we've mentioned the Assembly a few times here with your efforts in the Senate. They've been more receptive over the past year. I think you've even went as far as last year to get an initial bill through. But the holdup is with the Assembly. When do they bring up the issue as well?
I don't know. We will we'll talk to them and see. They continue to discuss it. They're going to conference it again, they said. I'm not sure why it would require more conferencing when they already know. I think that if the bill is put on the floor, the vote will go 2-1 in favor of the bill in the Assembly. So there were a number of hangups in the past from a philosophic perspective, as well as some extenuating union issues out of state, not in New York. But I think right now the support is there and it's solid. I'm just hopeful that the Speaker, who has talked about reforming the process in the Assembly to allow more member participation and bill consideration, will allow this bill, who he himself at one time was a co-sponsor of, come to the floor for consideration and debate.
Well, very interesting. Best of luck.
Thank you very much. Again, I appreciate you allowing me some time today. This was a tough decision. I'm not entering the race. Got a lot of pressure to do it, but we work together well as a team in this area, and we're going to continue to do that. And I appreciate you just giving me that chance to talk to the listeners. And you all have done an extraordinary job of trying to make sure that people keep in contact with our elected officials. That's the most important aspect, in my opinion, of what we do and how we do it. So thanks to you guys, too.
Anytime, Senator. When will you be back? I'd like to grab you in. I know there's some education issues we can discuss. You were in Deerfield over the weekend, and then you also received a high rating as a conservative and as a legislator here in New York State. So
yeah, we'll be home hopefully tomorrow night. So later in the week, if you want me to come on, if you want me twice in a week, maybe we can do some Super Bowl talk again, and if not, I'm around next week too. Be happy to come in at your convenience.
Sure, and reviewing the Iowa caucus is going on tonight. Do you have any feeling of how that will go?
No, I don't, but I'll tell you, Dave, I think, the perpetual campaigning is just terrible for the country, in my opinion. We've been first we talk about how we hate, we're tired of politics, and then it seems like all we do is focus on the politics. And obviously this is so important now, selecting the leader of the free world of our country. So I'm not sure what will happen. It'll be interesting, but I also don't believe that two states should determine the course of an electoral race for the highest office in our country. So Iowa and New Hampshire can derail people or put somebody on a fast track. And I think there's just so much at stake here that it's going to need some real focus and more opportunity for these candidates to really be heard. And unfortunately, though, it goes for so long that people tend to tune out. And I can't think of anything more important from an interest and an information perspective than to know what's going on. But I'll be watching tonight when we're done with all of our activities to see how that all unfolds. And hopefully people will continue to keep that open mind, though, because I don't think we always hear this, but I think this is one of the most critical periods for us to make a good choice for the future of our country.
All right, Joe. Safe travels. Talk to you soon.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Joe.
Senator Joe Griffo on the phone, and always a great guest on the show. Looking forward to having him maybe later in the week, like you said.
Yeah, that'd be nice to get just an update coming back from Albany. Maybe we can get some response on how this bill would be moving forward in the Senate and both the Assembly. As I mentioned with the senator, I believe last year, and didn't give me a concrete answer, but I believe he was able to get the initial bill through. We ran out of time at the end of the session. As you mentioned, the Speaker of the Assembly, or the Majority Leader, Morelli, seems pretty receptive on the Assembly side to get this bill passed. So let's see. Maybe we could see that MSG fight with Ronda Rousey, right?
Sounds great.